Control flowed from above. That line drove an 18-month surveillance operation where agents let trucks roll, warehouses hum, and schedules stay on time, just to watch who said go. This is the anatomy of iron current, why the FBI, HSI, and others moved at 4:20 a.m., how centralized approvals disguised cocaine and meth as everyday cargo, and why the moment leadership went silent, trucks stopped nationwide. If you've wondered how to dismantle a legally structured trafficking enterprise without firing a shot on the highway, this case gives you the blueprint. Before we move on, please take a moment to subscribe to the channel and like the video. On the log, the trailer checked out. On the asphalt, it didn't. A North Star freight group rig rolled west on I-40 with a manifest that matched the bill of lading line for line, and a driver who answered every question without a stutter. The vine matched. The DOT inspection stickers were current. Temperature controls, brake readings, lights, clean. The declared load: household furniture packed on pallets, shrink-wrapped, strapped, and routed through normal transfer windows. Nothing in the paperwork begged for a second look. The flags came from the metal, not the ink. Inspectors tracked a mild right-side sag that stayed constant across speed bumps and braking. The suspension pressed unevenly as if the center of mass sat deeper than the pallet stack. Furniture loads flex and shift. This one rode dense. Tape measures against the interior showed a wall that returned slightly short on depth. The seams sat flush. Rivet lines matched the manufacturer's pattern, and the partition had been painted to match the liner. It was built to live there, not to hide for a weekend. When they opened it, the logic became obvious. Behind the false wall sat 270 kilos of cocaine, bricks wrapped tight and nested in uniform rows. Each layer locked the one below it so vibration wouldn't rub wrappers open. The palletized furniture filled the visible space and gave the weight a story. The hidden space carried the mass that made the suspension read wrong. Scrape marks on the frame rails and polish lines near the partition showed it had been accessed many times. This wasn't a one-off gamble, it was a feature. The driver's calm fit that system. He followed familiar checkpoints, rolled at the same hours, and hit the same fuel stops and weigh stations that other North Star units used. Trained eyes read vehicles like faces. They saw a rig that looked too consistent. Routes weren't improvised to dodge law enforcement. They were repeated to blend into the flow of commercial traffic. Predictability became camouflage. A mirrored manifest told a clean story to anyone who checked the bill against the pallets. The real inventory sat behind steel. Smugglers lean on the rules because the rules move freight. Hidden partitions welded into the trailer let them build a second cargo hold that passed visual inspections and casual audits. Mirrored manifests gave bookkeepers, receivers, and drivers a consistent narrative. Predictable routes lowered risk because interdiction relies on anomaly detection and probability. If a truck looks like the same truck, week after week, it fades into the background noise. The warehouses in the chain didn't need to hide. They moved legal goods all day. The illicit side rode the same forklifts, the same doors, the same scanners. Nothing rushed, nothing odd. Think of it like a double-entry ledger, but the second set of books is welded into the trailer. The visible entries, pallet counts, lot numbers, delivery windows, balance perfectly. The hidden entries, brick counts, loading times, access codes, live in the steel. Auditors reconcile the first set and leave satisfied. The second set never hits paper, so it never creates a flag in a database. Trusted branding becomes the cover page. Routine schedules become the formatting. Random stops struggle with this because they test the face value of a trip, not the system that approves it. The first break didn't come from the cocaine itself. It came from what the cocaine said about process. Who ordered that trailer configuration? Who cleared that route slot? Who set the time window that put the truck into a weigh station with a lighter queue? The questions moved off the shoulder of the highway and into an office where approvals live. The cache became a symptom of a larger disease. A network using federal compliance as camouflage, stacking legal structure over illegal payloads until the two looked inseparable. You could seize bricks all week and miss the hand that signed the dispatch. So the scope widened. Investigators started reading timestamps, Logins, gate scans, dispatch calls, against movement. They treated the rig like a node in a schedule, not a rogue actor. They tested whether the system changed behavior when one segment stalled. The answer would tell them if control sat with the driver or with an approvals desk that never touched a steering wheel. If the truck isn't the center of gravity, you don't chase tires. You follow the clocks. After the biggest meth and cocaine find in Colorado history, agents didn't raid. They watched. The seizure proved the load was real, but the response looked backwards on purpose. Instead of stacking arrests for the headlines, they opened a long clock. 18 months of observation started the next day, built on a simple idea. Control flowed from a desk, not a driver. If the approvals lived in a calendar and a dispatch terminal, a highway takedown would only bruise the surface. The first weeks confirmed the premise. Take one truck out and another filled its slot inside the same timing window. Miss a delivery at a favored cross-dock and a sister warehouse accepted the handoff without a hiccup. Schedules shifted by minutes, not days. The network moved like a lawful carrier that had built-in redundancy for weather, maintenance, and staffing. Every self-heal carried a signature, a new approval code, a matching route note, and a login from the same cluster of user accounts. That resilience forced patience. Arrests would have taught the system to edit itself. Remove a dispatcher and the crew renames accounts. Seize a yard and they split orders across two smaller facilities. Investigators needed the whole skeleton on the board before they touched a single joint. They cataloged over 300 vehicles enrolled in insurance pools and fleet service agreements. About 60 drivers rotated through lanes with overlapping coverage, so a missed shift didn't stall a load. Nearly 20 warehouses in 11 states handled daytime legal freight, scanned by receivers who never saw a red flag. At night or during low traffic hours, the illicit volume rode the same doors, forklifts, and scanners. What made it blend was corporate logic. Approvals were time-boxed. Loads had to depart and arrive inside narrow windows that reduced idle risk and smoothed DOT exposure. If a truck missed a gate by more than a set variance, dispatch pushed it into a secondary route that kept the manifest story intact. Redundancy looked like standard customer service. A backup carrier ID, a spare chassis, a reserved dock slot. On paper, it read like good operations. To interdiction teams hunting anomalies, nothing stood out because everything matched a mature logistics playbook. The system's reliability came from repetition and handoffs that felt the same in every city. Drivers received the same checklists. Documents carried the same layout and reference codes. Supervisors ran audits at expected intervals. Predictable patterns can be a tell, but here they acted like insulation. When one city tightened enforcement, the route shifted a state over and kept the cadence. Local disruptions vanished inside national standardization. Research on organized crime shows why this works. When leadership never touches product or transport, prosecutors have fewer points to connect physical evidence to decision makers. Distance is a shield. In this case, the decision layer lived in spreadsheets, dispatch dashboards, and efficiency targets. The hands loaded pallets and signed for deliveries. The headset timing windows and authorized trips with credentials that looked like any mid-level manager in a logistics firm. That separation lowered legal exposure while preserving total control. So agents followed the approvals. They pulled server logs and traced user sessions that lit up before key departures. They tied dispatch calls to gate movements, matching voice minutes to timestamps on scanner beeps. Routine audits, the kind a compliance team would run to keep regulators happy, became a map of who could greenlight changes when a hiccup hit. Each reroute after a stall was a breadcrumb from the hands to the brain. The long delay wasn't drift. It was a trap. By letting the system breathe, they watched it solve its own problems and reveal the nodes that made those solutions possible. The aim wasn't to chase trucks. It was to identify the approvals architecture and cut it so cleanly the network couldn't reassemble parts into a new chassis. Once the control graph took shape, users, terminals, scheduling terminals, backup lines, the strike plan wrote itself. With the map of approvals in hand, A synchronized cut could silence the entire system in minutes. At 4:20 a.m., doors opened in 15 states, and the nation's most normal business went silent. Operation Iron Current moved before sunrise to hit every layer at once. Teams rolled on warehouses that ran clean day shifts, on offices that looked like any regional carrier's headquarters, and on apartments where managers kept laptops that held more power than any key ring. The timing mattered. Drivers were either parked or already committed. Dispatchers were logging in to start their windows, and the network's reflexes were at their slowest point. No call could outrun a knock at the door. The threat they were hunting wasn't a gun in a guard shack. It was a calendar invite that flipped a green light across 3 time zones. A manager clicked approve, and a load moved from a staging lane in Texas to a receiving dock in Utah without a hint of risk on the surface. That single action propagated through dispatch boards, route planners, and compliance queues. The strike plan treated that click as the weapon. You neutralize it by freezing the systems that make it travel. So the logic was simple and strict. Seize control points first. The first stacks through the doors went for scheduling terminals. Agents cut power to select racks, then imaged live servers before shutdown to preserve volatile data. Dispatch software sessions were captured with on-screen recordings and account token pulls. Communication hubs, VoIP lines, private LTE gateways, and backup satellite links went dark under warrant. The approvals desk, where timing windows were authored and extended, lost access as credentials were revoked in real time. If a user tried to move a departure time by 5 minutes, the system no longer recognized their authority.